In a phone call with reporters, Republican Senator John Cornyn admitted that he thinks ethnic cleansing of our Kurdish allies, or I should say our former Kurdish allies in northern Syria, is taking place, and he seems to be fine with it. Now, before I go to his quotes, I just want to remind you that in a speech this week, Donald Trump claimed that his abrupt decision to pull troops out of northern Syria and abandon our Kurdish allies was something that the Kurds were really happy with. They're very happy with the decisions that Donald Trump has made, and he's got a very strong relationship with the Kurds. But I would argue that if you're facing ethnic cleansing, you wouldn't be happy with the decision that Donald Trump made. So without further ado, what did Senator John Cornyn say to reporters in this phone call? Quote, if Turkey was planning on coming into northern Syria and trying to ethnically cleanse the Kurds, the US troops were caught in the middle. I am not completely convinced that it was a bad idea to get them out of harm's way. So hold on for a second. You're telling me that with all the taxpayer money that gets pumped into the Defense Department and with all the fancy weaponry that we have, with all the military capability we have, we can't stop our own NATO ally from coming in and conducting ethnic cleansing against our allies in northern Syria? Is that what he's saying?
No, besides which, I mean, that's one of the most brazen, inhumane quotes I've ever seen in my life in covering politics for 25 years in this country. Say like, well, if they're gonna ethnically cleanse them anyway, why are we bothering to help? Wow. Okay, look, I see stories like this and I think we do the kids in the schools a disservice by teaching them propaganda. Oh, never again, remember, never again, all that stuff. Nah, it doesn't. No, they should teach them real history. They should say, well, Holocaust, genocides, massacres, etc. They happen and will happen again, depending on the political situation at hand, depending on where the oil is, depending on who has money to make, depending on who the president is. If it's inconvenient, yeah, we'll definitely allow ethnic cleansing, and they should put John Cornyn's quote in the textbooks, saying, look, here's a United States Senator, the #2 Republican in the Senate who control the Senate. The Republicans control the Senate. So he's one of the most important politicians in America right now, saying, I don't care about ethnic cleansing. And so if our troops are in the way of ethnic cleansing, God forbid, we wouldn't want to be in the way of ethnic cleansing. And it's not like Turks haven't done ethnic cleansing in the area before.
Right, exactly.
And what do we teach in our history books? Oh, it's terrible what the Turks did to the Armenians when they cleared them out of that same exact area, right? Terrible, and that's true, it is terrible. And now, it's happening right now to the Kurds, and they're like, well, I mean, we wouldn't want to stand in the way.
That's exactly what he said. And what he did with that statement is he ripped off the veneer of America, or at least the American government, caring about human rights or humanitarianism or protecting people from ethnic cleansing or genocide or anything like that. And just to give you another update on Syria today, the Trump administration announced that they are going to actually put more US troops in Syria, not northern Syria, to protect our Kurdish allies, who are obviously no longer our Kurdish allies because we abandoned them, but to place them in eastern Syria where the oil is. That's what the Trump administration announced today. So they don't care about people. I mean, look, we already knew this. And in a way, what Cornyn said, it's terrible, but this is good news because now the government can't pretend as though they invade countries to spread democracy or because they want to protect people from a dictator or from authoritarianism. They've never cared about any of that. Their goals here are very clear. Their incentives are very clear. As long as we protect the oil, who cares? Let's just use the Kurds, and once we get what we want from them, just throw them away and throw them to the wolves to fend for themselves. By the way, Cornyn made his initial comments during a call Wednesday with Texas reporters who, and this is 2 hours after Trump announced that he was lifting sanctions against Turkey.
First of all, Trump, incredibly brazen. We've showed you the clips before where he says, the oil, I gotta protect the oil, I want the oil. So the people, who cares? There's 160,000 Kurds in that area. 160,000. Who cares about them? But the oil, we gotta protect the oil. And then he also said this, let someone else fight over this long blood-stained sand. He keeps referring to it as sand because he's a racist. It's not a desert, it's actually the Fertile Crescent. It is historically known as the Fertile Crescent because that's where agriculture began in the first place. It is not remotely a desert, but to him, a bunch of Arabs, none of them are Arabs by the way, Kurds and Turks are not Arabs. Bunch of Arabs fighting over sand, what do I care? Where's the oil though? The money, I care about the money. The only silver lining to Donald Trump's monstrous administration is that he's just brazenly telling you all of the corruption, all of like the gross things that governments do, because he's not smart enough to hide it. So I want to give you one more piece of truth that he said. He said an agreement with Turkey and the Kurds that could never have been made without this short-term outburst. So he calls the ethnic cleansing a short-term outburst. And they move them out after a while and then they own the land and then we're done with it. Anyway, he said this agreement couldn't have been done without me. Well, that's partly true because probably other American presidents like Republican or Democrat, Bush, Obama, would have said, no, we're not going to remove our troops so that you could then walk in and wipe out what the Kurds did over the last 7 years fighting ISIS. They lost 11,000 men fighting ISIS. David Petraeus, formerly the top general in America, went on TV, Republican, worked in the Bush administration, came out and said, it took 7 years to secure this land away from ISIS and with the work of our Kurdish allies. In a couple of days, we wiped it all away. And now 2 different countries are in charge. Turkey is, and then other portions of it, Russia rolled in, and now Russia controls portions of it. 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears by the Kurds and us wiped away in a couple of days. What Donald Trump calls a short-term outburst. You're right, Donald Trump. Probably no other president would have been so monstrous and craven and uncaring to have wiped away that work in just about a week. Congratulations. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.